Friends, about 6 years ago, I did a video that I did not realize was ever going to be popular on YouTube. I figured maybe a couple hundred people would watch it. It's called Should You Move to North Carolina? Here it is from 6 years ago. And I'm going to jump over here to some North Carolina info. I'm going to go here to a map of North Carolina. I'm going to kind of try to update this video. So 6 years later, I have had literally hundreds and hundreds of people contact me with questions about North Carolina. I have no idea how many. You'll notice if I go back over there for a second that I did some follow-up videos too, which were, should you move to Winston-Salem? Someone called and asked me that question to somebody, should you move to Morganton, North Carolina? They'd heard me sing the praises of Morganton. If I were to go looking deeper in here, I'd find additional ones, videos that I've done. What I'd like to do in this video is kind of refresh that video, talk a little bit about North Carolina, talk about some of the things people have been asking me over the years, and answer the question, is it still a good idea to move to North Carolina? First of all, let me tell you, there have been dozens of families move to this area. I get stopped all the time at like Walmart, or I'll be going to a restaurant or coming out of a restaurant or standing in line somewhere or going to a post office or wherever buying gas, and somebody say, hey, you're Tony Lee Glenn. The reason I know always that that's somebody that's seen me on YouTube, and usually somebody that's moved to the area, is, well, number one, they'll have an accent that's not applicable to here. They call me Tony Lee Glenn. Most people around here just know me as Tony Glenn. The reason I use my middle name is because there used to be a Tony Glenn on YouTube long ago, and I started using my middle name. I digress. Back to the whole thing is it's unbelievable to me the number of people that have moved to this area after watching YouTube videos and have chosen this area. And let me say that to date, to this point, not one single person I've met, and I'm going to say it's something on the order of maybe 25 families that have moved to this area, not one single person has said they regretted it. They've all been happy about the move that they made. Now, there may be some closet ones out there that are not happy. I do not know. There may be some people struggling. I don't know. I mean, there are people who have moved to Hickory that I've talked to. People have moved to the Asheville area. People moved down toward Belmont, Charlotte area, and all that. Let me just go over here. I'm gonna briefly kind of do what I did the last time, in case you're seeing the 2021 version instead of the one from 6 years ago. This is North Carolina, and this is just a map that I found that sort of shows the topography. You'd think that this is dry down here because it shows as red. This is actually very lush and green. I'm not sure exactly how they have this color coded. This is the mountains. This is where I'm from, kind of up here in these higher mountains. I'm sure that has to be along about the Black Mountain Range right around here. I grew up like right up in here, just to, I could walk to the Black Mountains in a day. I could hike there. So I grew up in the very highest mountains in the eastern United States. Mount Mitchell is the highest mountain in the eastern United States in North Carolina, up here in the Appalachian Mountains, 6,684 feet. I am half Mitchell. My mom was a Mitchell, so the guy that they named it after, Elisha Mitchell, was my great-great-great-great-great-granddad. I think it's 5 greats back. Anyway, he was great. He was an educator, theologian, and all, geographer, a surveyor. He's all kinds of things. Worked as a professor at UNC, University of North Carolina. I'm going to turn a different layer on here. And this sort of shows a little better, I think. And then this shows the cities and everything. And this portrays this whole area down here as very green and lush. We have various different geographical regions in North Carolina. This is all called the coastal plain down in here. This is all very low line. I'd say most of this is less than 300 feet elevation. Out here, this is the Pamlico Sound. This is the what we call the intracoastal waterway. It goes down through here. This is our big sound that is separated from the Atlantic Ocean, which is out here by the Outer Banks. This is the Outer Banks. Awesome place, my friends. If you've not been to the Outer Banks, it's very much like New England. It's very wilderness. There are some cities. I like to go a vacation at Avon is one of my favorite places. I go out there, and it's just just dunes and water and lots of nature. It's all national seashore. I won't get too much more into that. This, although some of the more agricultural rich areas of North Carolina, this is some of the poorer regions of North Carolina. This is some of the area here where you're not going to probably make tremendous amount of money living down there. Some of the best people in North Carolina that I've ever met, though, are out in the coastal plain. You move more into what's called the Piedmont. That's this area that looks sort of yellow. This is kind of where the money is in North Carolina. Probably the most lucrative place to make money is Raleigh, North Carolina, a great city. It's our capital city. Charlotte is out here close to the border, South Carolina. Virginia's up here on top. Greensboro, Winston-Salem, Durham. These are all places where probably the largest amount of money and more educated folks live. This is where a lot of the big tech and industrial efforts in North Carolina, those sorts of jobs, those sorts of things that drive the economy are there. Where do I live? It's this little place called Valdez here. This is my little area. So I'm not far from where I grew up. If you grew up in the high Appalachian Mountains, unless you're lucky, unless you've got a niche you can move into, you're probably going to struggle maybe somewhat finding a job unless you're around the Asheville area. I mean, there's plenty of work to be found. It's most people, though, that are looking to kind of make it in life move out of the mountains and move down here at least to the foothills, and that's kind of where I ended up. I lived over here in the Hickory area, a place called Conover over here, Newton and Conover. I lived there for about 20 years, and then I've migrated back. I live in Valdez now, but I can get up into the mountains in about 45 minutes. And so this is where my heart is. It's up in here. It always has been, and it's just a fantastic place to live. But this is a little bit about the state, just let you see what the geography's like. This is hot and humid. This is also hot and humid, but maybe not quite so hot and humid, and a little bit more crowded up in here. This is, again, the Piedmont. These are what's called the foothills where I live. It's actually sort of the border of the Piedmont. You're coming out of the Piedmont and heading into the mountains. That's what this whole region is here. This is called the Catawba Valley. You'll hear me talk about this. This is the Catawba River. It goes down into Lake Norman, which is the largest man-made lake in North Carolina. And, of course, this is just the Appalachian Mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains, and everything from up here at Jefferson and Wilkesboro, Sparta, and all this, all the way down to Murphy is the sort of the state, the farthest west point in the state is out here toward Murphy. And, Chattanooga's not far out toward here and everything. Knoxville and Johnson City's more up in this area. If I had that sort of map pulled up. I'm going to pull up another map right quick. This does show sort of the political layout of North Carolina. And by that I mean, when I say political, I'm not talking about Republican, Democrat, I'm talking about counties. North Carolina has 100 counties. If you were to go here and count them, 100 counties. I live in Burke County, so yes, that's where Morganton is here. Pretty good sized county. That Burke County used to encompass pretty much all these counties here, and they were all divided out of it. I'm raised in Mitchell County up here on the Tennessee border, so here are the Highlands, Roan Mountains up here. And again, here in Yancey County, you would think that Mount Mitchell's in Mitchell County, but it's not. Mount Mitchell is located here in Yancey County, looking over into Mitchell County. So they named this county after Elisha Mitchell in the mountains. And then Buncombe County is the big county down here where Asheville is. And this is sort of the western hub population-wise of North Carolina. You got Black Mountain over here. You got Waynesville, awesome little town, Maggie Valley. Boy, this is beautiful out here. This is the Cherokee country out here where the Cherokee and Native Americans live. Robbinsville, Bryson City. It's gorgeous, gorgeous out here. It's very touristy. Again, Boone's where Appalachian State University is. Ski resorts and stuff up there because it's cold and it's high elevations. And so but where have I lived? So you know about sort of the why I feel like I'm sort of at least fairly confident about talking about the state. I've lived in Asheville. I've lived up here. I've lived over here in the Catawba Valley. I've lived over here in a place called Burlington. Where in the crap is Burlington? I see Winston-Salem, Greensboro. Burlington has to be here somewhere. I see Elon College. Here's Burlington. I've lived in Burlington. I've played music in Chapel Hill. Here's Cary. Where in the crap is Chapel Hill? Should be along here somewhere. Carborough area. James Taylor's actually from Carborough. There's Chapel Hill. I'm married to a young lady that's from down here. Nikki is from, where in the devil is it? Here's Lumberton. Nikki is from, here's Red Springs. Nikki's mom lives in Red Springs. So I'm very familiar with this area. Nikki's brother John lives down in Wilmington, so we spend a bit of time in Wilmington, and I vacation out here, as I say, on the Outer Banks. I've not done a whole lot around Elizabeth City. some of these areas up in here. I used to work for a company that was headquartered out of this area up in here, and I've pretty much been all over the state. When I worked for Mission Health, I worked for a place called Mission Heart, and I ranged out all over all these sections of the western part of North Carolina. So I've been all around it, seen a lot of people, met a lot of people, talked to a lot of folks. Last map I'm going to show you is this one. It's just a very stripped down version that will show you just the main population centers. And here you can see Mount Mitchell at 6684. So yeah, this is kind of, we might allude back to this. What I want to say about North Carolina, an update from the last video that I did, is that it's become a lot more expensive to live here. Mostly because of real estate. Real estate's gone up. We have become sort of a destination state for people wanting to leave other states. I know that Texas and Arizona and New Mexico and Utah and other places are where a lot of folks are leaving out of California and coming back this way because either they just can't stand the price of living, or whatever it is. They want to retire to a place that's a little more peaceful and less controversial. And you know, I don't know all what's going on in California. I see the news, don't know what to believe, what not to believe. I just know a lot of folks from out west and from up north have been moving down here for a while. So we are one of sort of the growing states. What that means is that 6 years ago, I might have told you could buy a really nice house here in this area where I live for $200,000. It might be $300,000 now, $325,000. It may have gone up by a factor of 25 to 35% houses. And so a lot of people that have seen my old video, they call me up and Tony, I went and looked online. Looks like it's kind of expensive to live in your area. Well, it's comparatively, as far as the country goes, one of the less expensive places to go. And I'm going to go over here and show you some stuff online. So I've got some websites pulled up. I'll get on my YouTube channel here for a minute. Like, if you want to go to Wikipedia and read about North Carolina, I highly recommend going here. I did just a quick scan over all this. It's pretty cool. We're up to 10,453,000 folks in the entire state. That's ninth in the rank. Population density, 214 per square mile. Now that's not taking into account I mean, it is taking into account the big cities. If you take those big cities out of that, the population in North Carolina is very sparse still. If you go back here to some of these maps, if I go back to some of these, like particularly this one, I can tell you right now, almost probably half of the population in North Carolina is along this I-40 corridor from Asheville all out to right here. And this part over in here, we're not super on top of each other at all. Really nowhere in North Carolina, other than just really downtown Charlotte is where this is where a lot of people are congregated here. So you're not going to be on top of each other in North Carolina. It is very temperate weather. I'm going to kind of scroll down through here. I saw some stats a while ago. If you want to go here and read the history of North Carolina is fascinating. Of course, it was King George. His wife was a German princess named Charlotte, and that's where Charlotte got its name. Part of the Mecklenburg family. That's how we got Mecklenburg County for Charlotte. Here we go. Monthly highs and lows. So you got Asheville, and you see the coldest month typically would be January, I guess. The coldest place I know around here is Boone. So Boone's pretty high up. I mean, that's sort of the biggest town, I guess. That's higher up in elevation. There are some others maybe even higher, but yeah, this is typically a cold place, a mountain community up here. Charlotte, you can see it's a considerable amount warmer. Where I live, it's a little cooler than Charlotte, a little hotter than Asheville or Boone. Here again, I live in Valdez, Hickory, Conover, Newton, Marion, Morganton, Lenoir, Connolly Springs. These are the areas that are here in the Catawba Valley. So you can look here, kind of record highs and various different things. Talks about the major cities, shows you the populations. We're going to go to city data. I've got city data pulled up here in a minute, and there's a reason that I go there, and I'll show you in a minute. So historical population, so you can see, yeah, from we were probably about 9.7 the last time I did a video, and now we're up to 10,439,000. Here you can see that North Carolina is still a lot of white people in North Carolina, but it's changing. Look at this. 68% white now, 21% black. So the black has decreased. Asian has increased. Native American. There should be a lot more people from South America, Mexico. I'm trying to see, why is that not showing that? I do not know. Other race 4.3. I'm sure they're included in that. So you see the language is Spanish. That will let you know there are a lot of migrant people that have come here and worked up in Lenore. Particularly a lot of folks live up in that area. Religion, you can see we're mostly evangelical Protestant. A lot of people are unaffiliated now. Not a whole lot of Catholic folks. So this is kind of your breakdown here. I'd say probably the Baptist Church is still the dominant one in North Carolina. Presbyterians, Methodists, Lutherans, Church of Christ, Church of God, Holiness. There are all those kinds of things, or different denominations. Arts and culture. North Carolina is very much a arts and culture place. A lot of great music. North Carolina. Lots of great arts and crafts. Lots of great food festivals that go on. It is a fun place to live. I mean, man. We have an awesome coast. If you don't like our coast, you just go down the road a little ways and you're at Myrtle Beach, one of the kind of premier beach locations on the West Coast. You got Charleston and all that stuff farther down to South Carolina. It's all very close. None of that stuff's far away. The most visited national park in the world is the Great Smoky Mountains, which is in Tennessee and North Carolina. It sort of lays right along this area here, so it's the most visited national park in America, or at least it historically was. I'm guessing it still is. So you can go here read about state parks. I would say go here check the largest house in America, unless it's changed. The largest house is the Biltmore Estate, which I've been there to shoot a bunch of weddings. It's a great place to tour. I enjoy going to Biltmore House. My wife loves to go there at Christmas. It's crazy, incredible, beautiful. George Vanderbilt built that place, so that's all in the western part. Here's showing some stuff of the old well at UNC. Duke Chapel's gorgeous. A lot of pretty architecture. I mean, it's sort of a newer architecture. North Carolina's not been built up since probably the early 1800s is when things started really being built up after the establishment. We were one of the first 13 states, of course, colonies. So yeah, a whole lot to read here, but I want to jump over to city data. One of the things that if you're thinking about moving to North Carolina and you're thinking about regions, you want to always know about crime, about cost of living, about cost of housing. You might want to just go here and check that. I love going to this site whenever I talk about North Carolina. You go here and look up any city. If I go here in North Carolina, and it'll pull up a list here that does not. There's even more than what's here. If there's any small town. Like my town, Valdez, will not show up here in this list. This is probably the top 100 cities or something. And you'll see Valdez not in here, but if I go search for it, it will be in here. I'll be able to find it in city data. It has almost everything you can think of. This is interesting. This is a historical population change of North Carolina. So you can see from 1910 when it had, probably 2.3 million people living here, all the way up to now, and you've got your 2020 is showing over 10 million. This is pretty. City data is kept pretty much up to date. Now it looks here like the trend is downward for people coming here, but still an 11.2 increase in 2020. So it is one of the most growing states, and so you can go here and you see a whole lot of the stuff that we talked about before. A lot of the breakdown of North Carolina, but then you can go to particular cities. Now, what I'm going to do, without even looking, we're going to kind of just hop around and see. I'm going to give you my impression of how some things have changed. Like Asheville is one of my favorite places to go. I love to shop there, I love to eat there, I love to visit, like to vacation in the area. It's incredibly beautiful, very artsy, very different. Probably the most kind of left-leaning place in North Carolina. I love going there. But usually it's crime-ridden, and it seems to have been getting worse. We'll go see. I like being able to go to this, and you click on one of these places. Apologies for guitars being since I do Guitar Channel, you're going to see all kinds of music stuff pop up here, Sweetwater, and people trying to sell me stuff. So you'll have to just semi-overlook that as we jump through here. But here we can see that Asheville, the estimated median household income, $52,000. Rest of North Carolina, $57,000. You can see the thing that most people want to, you want to do, like I say, estimated median house, what a house or a condo or whatever it costs, Yeah, pretty much higher, isn't it? You're going to make a little less than you would in some places in North Carolina, but you're going to pay more to live there too, so it's going to be a higher cost of living. So what I'd recommend you do is just go to these places, look at this. If it's a area you absolutely want to go to, see if you think you could swing it from a cost point of view with the dang inequities with earning versus housing. But you can see here what the ethnic breakdown is for Asheville. Here's where we go. This is what I wanted to see. You can go here and you can see the overall crime index of an area. 517.9 is pretty high for North Carolina. I don't know where that comes in at a national rate. I mean, we could go look for Detroit or something like that, see what it says, or Baltimore, or wherever some of the places that legendarily have. Houston has a lot of crime, so we could go and we could see what some of those other places are. But I can tell you 517 is high. So you can see here, this is 2019 data. It looks like the trend is upward. All these red arrows means the value is much bigger than the state average. So if you got red arrows all over the place, unless you live just in the exact right place in Asheville, some gated community or something, that's why I'm not going to ever move to Asheville. I will go visit there, have great fun. But this is important to me. Now you see on this city data, you can find all manner of information, what the ethnic or ancestry of people is. You can also it always has a lot of good tourist links and everything. It's one of the best websites on the internet. Single family home construction building permits. It just goes on a very deep dive into just anything you want to, temperatures and everything. I mean, Asheville's it's a great place. But let me say, so we looked at 517.9. Let's do it for instance here. Let's look at where I live. Let's look at little old Valdez, North Carolina. Let's see what Valdez pulls up. So yeah, here's where I live. I live actually on a mountain south of Valdez. And we go here and you see, Valdez actually has estimated median income is higher than the rest of the state. So that's pretty cool. And the value of a house is lower. So you can see, why does good old Tony recommend and like this place? Well, that's a good reason for you. This is the ethnic breakdown here in my little area. Here is the crime. So 517 versus 146. 0 murders, 0 rapes, 0, that can't be right. There's got to be some robberies per 100,000. Assaults, yeah, it's good old boys getting together and beating each other up. That happens. Burglaries, now that's, thefts. But still, this is pretty nice, right? I mean, you can see the trend is slightly upward compared to 2018, 2017. Now you can see it kind of holds its own though. Now, the other premier place that I like to recommend to people is Morganton. Morganton's more expensive. Let's go to Morganton and see. But I always tell people to check Morganton out. Morganton's larger population. Here again, estimated median condo value 188. Morganton has a little less money, more people there, some more lower income jobs, but still a great city, beautiful, great vibe there. Here again, if you like a little more ethnically balanced area than Morganton, suits the bill for that. 348.2, not nearly as bad as Asheville, but getting up there. I mean, let's look at here again. You can go to do any research you want to do. Let's look at Hickory, North Carolina, which is also close to here. Let's see what Hickory is. Okay, so Hickory is sort of the place that everyone goes to shop around here. And here you can see your estimated household median income. You can see all that stuff again. Still, it's not super out of kilter. You can afford to live and work in Hickory. Let's see what our crime index and everything here again, the races or the breakdowns. So 337, not so bad. About the same as Morganton, about the same. Let's look at, for instance, Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, this will be interesting. Charlotte is a big, beautiful city. I don't go down there much. I kind of got ticked off down there a few years ago because they ripped me off over something. Long story. I could go into that some other time. But here you see estimated median household income. Here you make more in Charlotte, and your housing is typically still not out of line. You know, 252,000 for a house. Now that's probably data from a couple of years ago. I'd say in the last 2 years it's gone up 15%. So let's go down. Let's see if we can find. Here's our ethnic breakdown or our races in Charlotte, and let's see if we can find the crime data. Usually it's right in here. Unemployment. Okay, a whole lot of data. Here's our average climate. Where is the crime data? Well, isn't this a fine how do you do? Surely it's published. Every city has its crime data on here. There's religions. Okay. Government, yes, okay. Where? Oh, wow. You're kidding me. Is Charlotte not publishing their crime? No, that's not it. Folks, we've been through the whole thing. And Charlotte must, you know, this would make me believe that perhaps Charlotte has paid city data or somebody not. Well, you know what? It's got to be on here. Let's see. Charlotte NC crime rates for Charlotte. Safest neighborhoods, okay. Yeah. Look at this. Crime index 100 is the safest. Charlotte is safer than 7% of U.S. cities. That's not good, is it? That would mean that 93% of U.S. cities are safer than Charlotte. Wow. This is probably the reason Charlotte doesn't want, look at this, violent crime comparison per 1,000 residents. North Carolina average is 3.72, and of course that would include Charlotte. But here's just Charlotte itself pulled out, 6.7%. My chances of becoming a victim of a violent crime, 1 in 148 in Charlotte, 1 in 269 in the rest of Charlotte. Here again, take Charlotte out of this, and it's probably going to fall to like 1 in 245 or something like that. Wow. So my friends, this is why that's a tricky thing. This means that someone went here, unless I'm missing it, folks, I've been through the whole thing. Someone in Charlotte don't want data. They have asked city data to pull their crime statistics. So I bet somewhere I can still find. I'm not going to go into that, but you go there and look yourself. It looks like somebody's clamped down on city data and said, "Don't you be showing that stuff." Let's see if it's happened with any of the other major cities. Let's try Greensboro and see. So Greensboro has, you know, it's a fairly big progressive city and everything. See if they're hiding their crime data. There's the breakdown. Nope, here's the crime. 416, so not as bad as Asheville, but at least they're publishing it, whereas Charlotte is not. Let's try another big city. Let's try Winston-Salem. Aha, so here's Winston-Salem. Let's see if they're hiding their data. Here again, you can see it looks like Winston-Salem's a fairly inexpensive town to live in. You're not going to make a whole lot of money there, maybe. And yep, 465, it's actually worse than Greensboro. Now, okay, I'm going to tell you one city that I'm pretty high on, and I'm going to be interested to see how Raleigh shakes out. Now, that's our capital city. One of the things Nikki and I went and vacationed, and we did a lot of the museums and stuff in Raleigh, which has a lot of great museums, and we loved the capital city, and it seemed so nice and so well cleaned up. I don't know what they've been doing there to like really improve things. I know you make more money. Raleigh's one of the highest paying places. It's going to be fairly expensive to live there, but you might be able to afford it since you might find a better job. So there's a lot of high paying jobs. Let's see if the crime rates are in here. Here's the ethnic breakdown. And look at this, folks. Raleigh is better than Morganton, North Carolina here in the valley, better than Hickory. I think what was Valdez, 116 or something a minute ago, whatever. It's not. It's a big city. And not anywhere. Look how the crime has trended down. See, this is what I remember Raleigh being like, 20 years ago, which is exactly what we're looking at here. Look how the crime rate has continually been nosing down. Good job, Raleigh. Whatever you guys are doing, whatever the law enforcement are doing, whatever the city officials are doing, great job. Hats off to you. Your city's beautiful now. I can understand why people would want to go there and live. I'm curious about Chapel Hill. It's a place I like a lot. So this is if you don't like mountains and stuff, you want arts or college towns and stuff. You know, UNC's here. And Chapel Hill seems like a beautiful little laid-back place. Look, 103. Holy crap, this is better than Valdez is. So you can see the trend here has been down, down, down with crime rates. Folks, go here and spend some time. I guess I don't want this to be a super long video. I'm just going to say this. Should you move to North Carolina, go and weigh the pros and cons of it. I think we have a beautiful state with awesome mountains to the west. Thousands of trails, all kinds of cool adventure, good people east to west. Is there a drug problem? Yeah, in some areas in North Carolina there is. It is nationwide, so there are problems, but it's overall not a super expensive place to live. I was going to go here. The last thing I want to do is cost of living by state. So there's a place here we can go World Population Review, and it's got each state. Like for instance, we know California's going to be the worst, and we see down here that it's a cost index of 151. Oregon, I spoke to some folks from getting ready to move from Oregon to North Carolina last week, and there's this 134. If you go to North Carolina, it is 94.9. Now there are places cheaper. I know Georgia's cheaper. Look at this, 89 for Georgia. Georgia's hot. Doesn't have the mountains and stuff. North it has some mountains, but it's not quite. It has a beautiful coast, but yeah, South Carolina is very nice. 101.8. So it's wow. Is it okay? I'm looking at grocery now. Hold on a second. Here we go. Cost index 89.2. You look at what you want to look at is the cost index. So there you see what we are in North Carolina. Not bad. Virginia's going to be higher. Yeah, naturally you go up to New York and you see what it's going to be up here in Massachusetts. These folks are paying a lot to live in places like that. And you got your places that are cheaper. Like Texas and North Carolina should be along the same. I see Texas is 91.5. North Carolina is like 94.9. It's a great place to live. I love the geography, love the people, love the lifestyle. I still say, yeah, it's one of the best places you could go to live. I still highly recommend it to people. If you have any questions, just give me a shout. I don't mind talking to folks all the time. I could go on, but I just want to say, yeah, come check us out. That's it for now. Peace to all who watch. Subscribe to the channel if you like.